Tensions are easing after the riots in Baltimore. Here's a live look now at the city. Police say they arrested 35 people, only one juvenile, since that curfew started at 10 last night. Police said there are small groups of peaceful protests being held in parts of the city today. Baltimore schools reopened and after-school activities resumed today.
As for that baseball game, the Orioles took on the White Sox in front of an empty stadium. Activists say they will continue to press for answers in the death of 25-year-old Freddie Gray. He died while in police custody. Tonight, we're getting a unique perspective of the recent riots from a local man who has a connection to Baltimore and the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
10 on your side's Anita Blanton caught up with him this morning. Anita?
Yeah, Professor Earl Caldwell was a New York Times reporter in the 60s who traveled throughout the country seeking to tell the stories behind urban riots that were taking place. He was right there in Memphis on MLK's last day alive, and he went to Baltimore shortly afterward, where violence had erupted as a result of a king being shot down. It's the iconic photo that we've come to associate with the assassination of Martin Luther King. But this was very real for Earl Caldwell. He was the only reporter nearby.
You can't keep going down these same roads without eventually something terrible is happening now. But you could see that there's so many pieces that are in place to have a kind of a catastrophic event.
Back then, he was traveling the country, delving into the deeper issues behind the riots of the times.
It always comes back to these very few things. Police brutality is a common line. Unemployment it's another signature line.
Troubled schools, poor housing, things that all erupted in Baltimore in 1968.
I believe it's all of these things. It's a big pot, and it's, the brew that it's cooking up is not good for this country.
He's now a professor at Hampton University, watching the brew boil over once again.
You can see this new generation, and if you talk to them, they're saying a lot of the same things that were said 50 years ago.
The urban riots in the 60s started with a familiar storyline.
It was kicked off, white cop shooting a black kid. That's a line that runs through.
Just as there were peaceful days before this scene, the same was true then.
People don't understand that in the 1960s, when King was advocating this, they had like school for marchers, for school for those who were going to be protesters.
To teach them how to be most effective in creating change. But the time came when civil disobedience won out, and Baltimore is still paying the price today.
If you look at the 1960s, every neighborhood that was burned down, nobody came to build it back up. Businesses that were lost, and you see a next generation come and ask, why are there no grocery stores in this community? We don't even have any stores. Well, you burnt them down.
The anger and frustration was seen, but people's predicament remained the same. He says when you have riots, they become the message, whether you intend it or not. So it's good to see some of the violence cease since Monday, as community leaders have really tried to get people refocused on what it is and who you're fighting for. Anita Blanton, 10 on your side.